Imagine you're standing on a dirt trail. It's like 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, brutal.
Right. The sun hasn't even thought about rising yet.
Yeah.
You are just being absolutely eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Naturally.
Yeah, and your legs are already dreading this massive incline you're about to face. And you feel like you're just, miles away from the comforts of modern civilization.
I feel like you're in the untamed wilderness.
Exactly. But then the sun finally peaks over the horizon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you look closely at your surroundings, and you realize you aren't in the pristine wild at all.
Not even a little bit.
No, you're actually standing in the middle of a massive, centuries-old colonial sugar plantation.
Wow.
And just a few feet away from that is an abandoned drug lab.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And if you try to, say, fly a drone to the sky above you to get a cool shot, this invisible, highly regulated international aviation grid will literally hijack your device and force it to the ground.
See, this is what I love. We constantly tell ourselves this romantic lie about the outdoors.
Oh, totally.
We think of nature as this blank canvas, completely divorced from human history or modern bureaucracy.
Like we're stepping back in time or something.
Right. We step off the pavement and think we are stepping out of human influence entirely. But the wilderness is arguably more crowded with the ghosts of human activity and, well, the invisible architecture of our laws than the actual city streets are.
Which brings us to the exact mission of our deep dive today.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at this amazing piece of found media that captures this, collision of nature, history, and technology perfectly.
It's such a great source.
It really is. So we are analyzing a transcript from a seemingly unremarkable YouTube video. It was uploaded by a creator named Hensley Isaac.
Okay.
And the title is just Sunday Morning Hiking Lost and Found, Hermitage Bay, Leonard Hill.
Simple enough.
Yeah. And the date is June 28th, 2026. If you just glance at this, it is a raw, unedited, totally unfiltered vlog of a casual Sunday morning hike in Antigua.
Right. On the surface, it's just a dozen friends walking up a hill.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you actually listen to what they're saying and look at the physical toll the landscape takes on them and catalog the bizarre artifacts they literally trip over in the brush,
It's crazy what they find.
it is. It becomes this incredible sociological document. We aren't just going to track their elevation today. We are going to extract the historical mechanics of the island and the psychology of why humans still force themselves to do things like this.
I love that. We want to take you, the listener, on this exact hike. We want to show you how to look at the dirt under your own boots and read the invisible layers of your local trails.
So we got to start in the dark.
We do. It's 4:30 a.m. down at Hermitage Beach. The hikers are looking across the water toward Five Islands Harbour, and there's a group of about 14 people gathered here.
That's a big group for that early.
It really is. The transcript gives us a few names, Lou, Henry, Cy, Zoe, and someone who's new to the group named Tanya.
Okay.
And they aren't hiking yet. They're just standing around in the pitch black, waiting.
Waiting for the late folks.
Yeah, one of them actually says they are, quote, waiting on a few orders to turn up, which I assume means latecomers. And while they wait, they're just getting destroyed by bugs.
Oh, the mosquitoes.
Yeah, somebody literally groans, I waited so long, mosquito nearly kill me.
I can hear the misery in that.
Right. But instead of packing it in and going back to bed, which is what I would do, they start fiercely debating a cricket match.
And see, the pre-hike phase is rarely discussed in outdoor recreation, but it's really the crucible where the group identity is forged.
How you mean?
Well, you have 14 individuals who have just violently ripped themselves out of their circadian rhythms, right?
Yeah, alarms going off at 4 a.m.
Exactly. They're tired, they're uncomfortable, they're experiencing mild physical pain from the insects. So to counteract that immediate misery, they instantly reach for a collective grounding mechanism.
The distraction.
Right. And in this case, it's the West Indies versus Sri Lanka test match.
And it isn't just a casual mention either. They are really in the weeds with the statistics.
Oh, they know their stuff.
Somebody points out that today is the 4th day of the match, and it's likely going to be a draw. Then the debate over the numbers starts.
The scores, yeah.
One guy mentions a player named Chase scoring 194. Then someone else chimes in trying to remember who hit the 233. It's like, who make the 233?
And they know it immediately.
Yeah, the correction comes right back. Django. Oh, yes, Django. It's this rapid-fire, almost rhythmic exchange of data.
Well, test cricket is uniquely suited for this kind of communal bonding, too.
Because it's so long.
Exactly. For those unfamiliar, a test match isn't a 2-hour event like a soccer game. It lasts for up to 5 days.
5 whole days of playing.
Yes. So it's this slow, unfolding narrative with immense stretches of strategic maneuvering. To follow a test match requires a sustained collective attention span.
That makes sense.
So when these hikers stand in the dark reciting scores 194, 233, they're essentially proving their membership in a shared cultural reality. It anchors them to the exact moment in time, June 2026, day 4 of this specific match.
It almost feels like an oral history ritual, like reciting the deeds of the warriors before going into battle.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
I mean, I look at this scene, standing around before dawn, complaining about the elements, telling stories, and it looks identical to a modern iteration of a communal hunt.
A communal hunt. Okay, explain that.
Well, for tens of thousands of years, early humans gathered in the dark, shared grievances about the cold or the bugs, synchronized their mental states, and then went out to exert massive physical energy.
Right, to track an animal.
Yeah. And here, the physical exertion of the hike almost seems secondary to the social bonding. I found myself wondering if the actual hike even matters to these people, or if, like, walking up a steep hill is just the required physical toll they have to pay to hang out uninterrupted for a few hours.
Okay, the hunt analogy is tempting, but I would actually argue it fundamentally misunderstands the modern psychology of recreation.
Wait, really? How so?
Because a prehistoric hunt had a tangible, survival-based outcome. If they failed, the community starved.
Sure, the stakes were life or death.
Exactly. This hike has absolutely no survival utility. In fact, it's a massive caloric deficit for no caloric reward.
Huh. That's very true. You're just burning energy to burn it.
Right, so the physical exhaustion isn't a secondary toll. It is the entire psychological point.
Oh, I see what you mean.
We live in a world where physical stress has been largely engineered out of our daily lives. Climate control, cars, grocery stores. We don't have to struggle to survive anymore.
We just sit at desks mostly.
Yes. But because our brains evolved to manage physical struggle, the absence of it actually creates anxiety.
That is wild.
It's true. By choosing to climb a mountain, they are creating a controlled, artificial stressor to satisfy that evolutionary craving.
So you're saying the mosquitoes and the burning leg muscles aren't the obstacles to the experience, they literally are the experience.
Precisely. The brain gets a massive hit of endorphins and oxytocin simply because it survived a simulated threat.
Wow. Okay, so the landscape provides the friction the modern human body craves, but rarely encounters.
You nailed it. When the latecomers finally arrive and the group says, okay, hiking time, not cricket, they aren't beginning a journey. They are stepping into the stress simulator they've chosen for their Sunday morning.
And let me tell you, the simulator turns up the difficulty immediately.
Oh, it does not mess around.
No. They head away from the beach and start to climb up Leonard Hill, which is part of a formation known locally as the Sleeping Indians.
Beautiful name.
It is. But the transcript captures this really abrupt shift from casual banter to genuine physical struggle. We start hearing people breathing heavily, commenting on the terrain.
The reality of the hike sets in.
Yeah. Someone calls it a two-step up.
Yeah.
Another refers to it as a very stiff climb. The reality of the dirt just hits them fast. One hiker mutters, you got to be strong in your legs and your hip, boy.
See, that phrase, a two-step up, is a great piece of local vernacular.
What does it actually mean? Like a literal two steps?
It implies a gradient so steep that you can't just walk linearly, You have to step, plant your foot, and then physically bring your other foot up to the exact same level before you can even take the next step.
Oh, man. You were essentially doing single-leg squats up a hillside.
Exactly. And this immediately fractures the unified social group we saw on the beach into a hierarchy of physical endurance.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite dynamic in the entire transcript.
The four-wheel drive guy.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
They are struggling, right? Talking about needing a rope to haul themselves up over certain rock faces. And then they start complaining about one specific hiker in the group.
There's always one?
Always. They joke that they need to cut out the four-wheel drive guy. They describe him as having four-wheel drive electricity, just bounding up the trail full of energy, leaving everyone else in the dust.
Every single person who has ever gone on a group hike knows exactly who this guy is.
He's the one acting like gravity is merely a suggestion while you are, like, actively contemplating lying down in the dirt and giving up.
Totally. But sociologically, The four-wheel drive guy serves a very specific function in group
Oh,
dynamics.
really? He's not just there to make everyone feel bad.
Well, kind of. On one hand, he is the pacemaker. He establishes the upper limit of the group's capability.
Right.
But he also serves as a focal point for collective resentment, which, ironically, binds the rest of the struggling hikers closer together.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It is way easier to bond over shared annoyance at the person who isn't suffering than to focus purely on your own burning hamstrings.
Exactly. Shared misery is a fantastic bonding agent.
And they are definitely miserable. They actually refer to the physical act of climbing as torture.
I saw
They
that
mention the rocks, the falling, the slipping, the thorns. They're getting battered by the microweather, too.
rain shower. Right.
Yeah. They note this quick sprinkle of rain blowing over from Maiden Island that just vanishes as fast as it appeared. It's an incredibly raw, tactile experience. Your hands are on the rocks. You're getting scratched by thorns.
You feel entirely consumed by the physical, ancient reality of the planet.
Yes. You feel totally disconnected from the modern world. And then right at the summit, the narrative takes a massive left turn.
A total 180.
They hit a wall, but it's not made of stone.
Ah, the drone incident.
This is wild.
This is the exact moment the illusion of the untamed wilderness completely shatters.
It is genuinely jarring. So the person filming, Hensley, finally reaches a high vantage point. He's looking out over this sweeping, gorgeous panorama of the water and the hills.
It's the payoff for all the torture.
Right. He wants to capture the victory. So he pulls out a consumer drone, powers it up, gets ready to launch it into the sunrise.
Yeah.
And it refuses to fly.
Just completely dead in the water.
Yeah. He explains to the camera that they are in a no-fly zone. They are geographically lined up with the flight path for the airport in Antigua, and the drone software is locked down by a geofence.
The mechanics of that moment are profound if you think about what is actually happening there.
Break it down for us because it blew my mind.
Okay, so a hiker hauls himself up a cliff using ropes and sheer muscle power, standing in a place that feels completely remote and wild.
Sweating, bleeding from thorns.
Exactly. But the moment he turns on that drone, it sends a radio frequency up to a constellation of GPS satellites orbiting thousands of miles above the Earth.
Literally space infrastructure.
Yes. And those satellites ping back his exact latitude, longitude, and altitude.
Okay.
Then the microchip inside the drone cross-references those coordinates with a hard-coded database of global aviation rules that was downloaded from civil aviation authorities.
Neat. So the drone knows the local laws.
Yes. The software recognizes the proximity to the airport's approach vector, it overrides the human's physical inputs on the joystick, and it simply kills the motors.
It's wild. The drone basically says, I don't care how hard you hiked or how beautiful the sunrise is, you do not have jurisdiction over this airspace.
It's an absolute denial of physical agency.
We usually think of
Tangible obstacles.
Yeah. But the sky above this seemingly empty hill in Antigua is carved up into invisible, rigid, three-dimensional geometric boxes that are strictly enforced by autonomous code.
It really forces a reevaluation of what escaping into nature actually means today.
Totally.
You can out-hike the roads, you can out-climb the power lines, but you cannot out-walk the digital infrastructure of modern governance.
The legislation of the city extends invisibly right over the wilderness.
That's a great way to put it.
Honestly, I find myself almost angry on behalf of the hikers.
Really? Why?
Well, you go out there to escape the rules of the office, the traffic lights, the daily grind of compliance. You subject yourself to the torture of the thorns just to get away from the grid.
Ah, I see.
But the grid is omnipresent. You are standing in the mud, but you are still sitting inside a regulatory cage.
Okay, I hear that, but I view it less as a dystopian cage and more as a miracle of modern safety engineering.
A miracle. That's a strong word for ruining a drone shot.
Well, think about the alternative. The airport approach path over Hermitage Bay isn't just an arbitrary line on a map. It's a corridor for commercial airliners carrying hundreds of people.
That's a fair point.
The fact that an affordable consumer toy is sophisticated enough to communicate with space, understand its geographical context, and voluntarily ground itself to prevent a catastrophic mid-air collision with a jet engine, that is astonishing.
When you put it like that, it does sound pretty amazing.
The wilderness hasn't been stolen from the hikers. It has just been successfully integrated into a global transportation network to keep everyone alive.
I guess I can't argue with not crashing into a 747. And that integration extends to the ground level too. The trail itself isn't a solitary endeavor.
Oh, not at all. It's highly trafficked.
Yeah, while they're walking, they start talking about other hiking groups that frequent the same paths. They mention a group called 268 on the trail and another one called the Trailblazers.
And that number, 268, is significant.
Why is that?
It's the area code for Antigua and Barbuda. Yeah, which shows how heavily these groups tie their identity to the island itself. It's a badge of honor.
It reveals this vibrant, almost competitive subculture. It's like rival hiking gangs, keeping tabs on who is doing which route on what weekend.
Exactly. They're highly aware that the dirt they are walking on is shared.
It's like an outdoor social network built on physical exertion rather than scrolling on your phone.
And that shared physical space serves as a canvas for the next phase of their journey. Because once they accept the digital limitations of the sky and put the drone away, their gaze shifts.
They stop looking up.
Right. They stop looking outward at the grand, forbidden panorama, and they start looking downward. This is where the physical landscape begins to act like a historical ledger.
I love how you describe it as a ledger because the artifacts they stumble across are utterly bizarre.
They really are.
They find things that have no business being next to each other. The trail essentially becomes a time machine.
What's the first thing they spot?
The first thing they stop to examine is a concrete marker. They call it a stone with the numbers on it, and the hikers casually mention someone named Samuel Davis David.
Okay.
And they identify this object as a trigonometrical station or a rainfall marker.
Right. A trig station, which is short for trigonometric station, is this incredible relic of analog cartography.
Analog cartography, so making maps before computers.
Exactly. Before we had the GPS satellites that grounded the drone, the only way to accurately map a landscape was through physical triangulation.
How did that even work?
Well, surveyors would hike to the highest, most visible peaks in a region like Leonard Hill and build these permanent concrete pillars.
The stone with the numbers on it.
Yes. Then they would place an instrument called a theodolite on top of the pillar.
A theodolite.
It's a surveying instrument that measures horizontal and vertical angles very precisely. By looking through the theodolite's telescope from one peak to another peak where a second trig station was built, and knowing the exact distance between the two.
They could do math to figure out the rest.
Right, basic geometry. By measuring the angles of the triangle, they could calculate the exact distances and elevations of the entire island.
That is wild. So this guy they mentioned, Samuel Davis, David, didn't just hike up Leonard Hill for fun on a Sunday.
Oh, definitely not.
Decades ago, he was likely hauling heavy concrete, water to mix the cement, and delicate optical instruments through the thick brush, fighting the same thorns and mosquitoes, all to physically anchor a mathematical grid to the dirt.
It's staggering to think about the physical labor involved in just drawing a map back then. It represents a mid-20th century effort to dominate the landscape through measurement.
It is an artifact of geographical control.
Exactly. And yet there it sits, slowly being eroded by the weather, ignored by most people, while the modern hikers walk past carrying devices in their pockets that can do the exact same surveying work in a fraction of a second.
The technological obsolescence is stark. It's just a rock to them now. But that trig station isn't the oldest thing they find. As they continue, they pass an old dried-up pond. They point out a dead tree they call a Malicica tree, noting how the wood is perfect for fires.
Just natural local landmarks.
Yeah, but then looming in the brush, they spot the Hermitage Bay sugar mill.
And the transition from the trig station to the sugar mill is a massive leap backward in time and, honestly, a shift into a much darker chapter of the island's history.
You see ruins of sugar mills all over the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
And it is so easy to just look at them as picturesque stone towers.
Like a nice photo op.
Yeah. But finding one buried in the overgrowth of a hiking trail forces you to confront the reality of the landscape. That mill is a massive, heavy footprint of colonial agricultural history.
It's undeniable when you're standing next to it.
It was built centuries ago, not for recreation or mapping, but for pure extraction.
To build a stone mill of that size and to clear the surrounding land for sugarcane required an unfathomable amount of forced labor. Yes, the landscape these hikers are casually navigating for health and leisure was once the site of brutal, systemic enslavement.
It's haunting.
It is. And the fact that nature has completely overgrown the cane fields, leaving only the stone husk of the crushing mill, is a powerful visual of how the earth eventually reclaims human enterprises, no matter how dominant they seem at the time.
It is an incredibly heavy artifact to encounter on a Sunday morning stroll. You have the ancient, violent colonial history of the sugar mill. You have the mid-century analog ambition of the trig station.
And the natural life cycle of the dead Malika tree.
Exactly. But the most shocking artifact they find is completely modern, and it tells this fascinating story about the mechanics of human law.
Oh, you were talking about the abandoned laboratory.
I am talking about the abandoned wilderness marijuana grow site.
So crazy.
The hikers are walking along, and suddenly one of them just stops and says, "You see the pot? Yeah, 4 pots right here." They are looking at the remnants of a clandestine drug operation.
Just sitting there in the open.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
And they immediately deduce exactly why it is sitting there abandoned.
And their deduction is brilliant, honestly.
It really is. One of the hikers points out that recent changes in the law allow citizens to legally grow a maximum of 4 plants at their private residence.
The moment he says that, the entire mystery of the abandoned site unravels.
Let's really think about the mechanics of what happened here. Someone used to wake up, probably way earlier than 4:30 a.m.
Under the cover of total darkness.
Right. They would load up their backpack with heavy bags of soil, massive jugs of water, fertilizers, tools.
Hauling all that dead weight.
Yeah. They would hike up that exact same 2-step up incline, tearing their skin on the thorns, sweating, hiding their tracks. They endured immense physical labor and the constant stress of potential arrest, all to cultivate a few plants on a hidden hillside, because the government said it was illegal.
The prohibition created the necessity for extreme, wilderness-based labor.
That's a fascinating way to phrase it.
Think about it. The steepness of the terrain wasn't a recreational challenge for the grower. It was a security feature.
Oh, like a moat.
Exactly. The harder it was to reach, the less likely law enforcement would find it.
And then politicians in a climate-controlled room miles away signed a piece of paper. The law shifted. Suddenly, you were allowed to grow 4 plants in your backyard.
And just like that, the world changes.
The legislative change instantly alters the physical reality of the mountain. The grower doesn't have to haul water up a cliff anymore. They just turn on their garden hose at home.
It's so much easier.
The secret hillside lab becomes economically and practically obsolete overnight. So what do? They just drop their plastic pots and walk away.
They leave the illicit wilderness operation for nature to reclaim right alongside the colonial sugar mill.
It perfectly illustrates how human law acts as an invisible force of erosion and creation on the physical environment.
We often view legislation as abstract text, just words in a book.
Yeah.
But it dictates physical behavior. When the rule changed, human energy was instantly redirected from the hidden hillside to the private backyard.
It makes me think of an old manuscript, like a palimpsest.
Oh, a palimpsest. Good analogy.
Yeah, a physical document where the author writes a story, then decades later, someone scrapes the ink off and writes a new story over it. Then centuries later, someone does it again.
But the scraping is never perfect.
Exactly. The ghostly text of the older stories always bleeds through the new ink. This hiking trail is a physical manuscript.
You can read the layers.
You have the colonial text of the sugar mill, written over by the mid-century mapping text of the trig stone, written over by the Prohibition-era text of the secret grow lab, which is now overwritten by modern legalization. And all of it sits underneath the invisible ink of the drone geofence.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. And, to read a landscape that complex requires a specific kind of literacy.
Which these hikers seem to have.
They do. They are successfully decoding the text of the mountain. They're interpreting the pots, identifying the trig station, recognizing the micro-weather patterns. They are highly confident in their environment.
But that confidence is incredibly fragile.
Oh, it shatters in an instant.
Because after the intellectual high of reading the landscape at the summit, they begin their descent. And they make a seemingly innocuous decision that completely destroys their sense of control.
They decide to take a shortcut.
A classic mistake.
The transition from the known path to the unknown brush. It is a psychological precipice.
The transcript shows them deciding to take a new trail, to drop down quickly toward the hotel near the base of the hill. And almost instantaneously, the entire tone of the hike shifts.
You could feel it in the text.
The joyous, confident banter just evaporates. The dialogue becomes fragmented, nervous, and scattered.
Listen to the syntax of the quotes from the source material. It goes from full narrative sentences about cricket scores to clipped, urgent phrases.
Like panic setting in?
Yes. Someone says, "Lost the expert." The group dynamic just fractures.
You hear someone urgently advising the others, check the ground, see if you see any disturbances, and then the terrifying response comes back. No part of the Earth disturb or anything?
That's a chilling realization.
For about 15 minutes, they are genuinely entirely lost.
The psychology of being lost is fascinating because it fundamentally alters your sensory processing.
How does it change?
Well, when you are on a known trail, your brain is in a macro processing mode. You look at the horizon, you appreciate the drone's eye view, you philosophize about the sugar mill.
You're relaxed.
You are secure, so your vision expands. But the absolute second you realize the trail is gone, your macro vision shuts down.
Travel vision.
Exactly. Your brain triggers a low-level survival panic, and your sensory input violently narrows to the micro level. You stop looking at the sky and you stare obsessively at the dirt inches from your boots.
Check the ground, see if you see any disturbances. They're desperately looking for a bent twig, a scuff mark on a rock, a leaf that has been stepped on.
Their pattern recognition software goes into overdrive.
Looking for any sign of human impact.
Because a disturbance means another human has been there, which implies a way out. Nature immediately ceases to be a beautiful aesthetic backdrop.
It becomes an adversary.
It transforms into an actively hostile puzzle that they must solve to return to safety.
I do have to point out the extreme irony of the situation, though.
It is pretty funny in hindsight.
They are acting like they're stranded in the Amazon basin. One guy jokes nervously, "I swing from tree to tree like a monkey."
Trying to lighten the mood.
They are in full wilderness survival mode. But in reality, they are trying to drop down into the backyard of the Hermitage Bay Hotel.
Right, civilization is right there.
They're literally aiming for a luxury resort. They're separated from paved roads, cold drinks, and civilization by maybe a few hundred yards of thick brush. It's incredibly comedic. But the tension in their voices is real.
The irony doesn't negate their psychological reality, though.
Spatial disorientation is terrifying no matter where you are.
Exactly. It does not care about your proximity to a hotel. You can be lost 50 feet from a major highway if the brush is thick enough and you don't know which direction the pavement lies.
That's a really good point.
The panic they are managing, and they do manage it with humor, but the tension is undeniable, stems from a loss of orientation, not from actual geographic isolation. They have lost their agency.
It really begs the question, why do we do this?
Yeah.
Why do we ever stray from the path? I am totally guilty of this, by the way.
Oh, we all are.
You're walking on a perfectly clear, safe, well-marked trail. It is guaranteed to get you to your destination. But some part of your brain looks at a dense patch of woods and whispers, if we just cut through there, it'll save 5 minutes.
The illusion of efficiency.
Is it just extreme arrogance?
Efficiency is the excuse our conscious brain uses, but the subconscious drive is much deeper. It is an assertion of autonomy.
Autonomy. Like proving you can do it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you walk on an established trail, you are submitting to the geographical decisions of the people who walked there before you.
You're following the rules.
You are compliant. When you step off the trail to forge a shortcut, you are taking control of the landscape. You are deciding that your navigational intellect is superior to the established route.
And the wilderness immediately punishes that arrogance by showing them they have absolutely no idea where they are.
Exactly. The wilderness is profoundly indifferent to human autonomy. It swallows you up whether you are looking for a luxury hotel or a lost city.
The realization of their vulnerability hits them hard. One of them actually admits it on camera later, saying, "Not as we expected. You get lost for 15 minutes."
It's a humbling moment.
It's this sudden, humbling admission that all their physical endurance, their deep knowledge of cricket stats, their ability to analyze colonial ruins, none of it matters if you can't find a footprint in the dirt.
But the human brain's pattern recognition eventually wins out. They work the puzzle.
Thank goodness.
They find a disturbed patch of earth, they orient themselves, and they wind their way out of the brush, popping out exactly where they hoped, near the hotel gate.
And the moment they step onto the pavement, the tension just evaporates.
The puzzle is solved, the survival protocol shuts down, and they instantly revert to being a group of friends who just finished a tough workout.
They return to the known world, and the transcript gives us the exact timestamp for the end of the journey. By 8:02 a.m., all 14 hikers have made it back down to Hermitage Beach.
8:02 a.m. It is almost difficult to comprehend the density of the experience they just had in that short time frame.
Think about what you, the average person, does on a Sunday morning before 8 a.m.
Sleep.
Maybe you make coffee, maybe you read the news, maybe you sleep in. In that same window of time, this group of 14 people woke up in the dark, engaged in a complex social bonding ritual over test cricket, pushed their bodies to the anaerobic threshold up a two-step cliff.
Ran headfirst into the invisible digital legislation of international aviation law.
Conducted a walking archaeological tour of colonial oppression and modern drug legislation.
And then survived a genuine psychological crisis of being lost in the jungle.
And they did it entirely voluntarily. It is a masterclass in how much human experience can be squeezed into a 3.5-hour window if you're just willing to engage deeply with your physical environment.
But the story doesn't actually end at Hermitage Beach.
It doesn't.
No, because Hensley, the guy filming all of this, takes this deeply intimate, sweaty, hyper-local experience and he broadcasts it to the entire world.
Oh, the YouTube upload.
Right. At the very end of the source transcript, he is wrapping up the vlog, and he starts shouting out specific viewers who follow their hike.
Oh, yeah. He says, "Hi, friends in Barbados there. Hi, Anthony Perry. Hi, Charlie over there in England."
That is the final brilliant layer of this deep dive. You have a hike that is profoundly grounded in the specific dirt of Antigua.
The Malika trees, the sugar mill.
It is defined by local artifacts and local vernacular like sleeping Indians. But the moment it is upwarded, it transcends geography.
It goes global.
It bridges the microscopic details of a dead Malika country with a digital community thousands of miles away in the UK. Charlie, in England, drinking his afternoon tea, is visually participating in the 4:30 a.m. mosquito-bitten reality of Hermitage Beach.
It proves that no environment is empty and no local event is ever truly isolated anymore. Every single trail, every neighborhood sidewalk, every patch of woods behind your house is a dense manuscript of human stories, complex social dynamics, and overlapping histories.
You don't have to go to a museum to see how history works.
You really don't. You don't need a perfectly curated glass case with a neat little placard to understand sociology. The history is right there under your hiking boots, mixed in with the dirt, the thorns, and the invisible signals pinging from space.
The only requirement is that you cultivate the literacy to read it.
Right.
You have to be willing to look at a concrete block and ask who carried it there. You have to look at a plastic pot and ask what law caused it to be abandoned.
So, as we wrap up this journey up Leonard Hill, I want to leave you with something to consider the next time you step outside your front door.
Pay attention to the ground.
The next time you take a familiar walk or hike your local trail, stop for a second and look around. Ask yourself, what invisible architecture is silently dictating the exact path you are taking?
That's a great question.
Is it an old, forgotten property line drawn by a farmer a century ago? Is it the ghost of a community development project that ran out of funding? Or is it an invisible digital geofence buzzing in the sky above you, deciding what you are and aren't allowed to do?
You're never just walking in the woods.
You might think you are just going for a walk, but what unseen forces are guiding your steps right now?